Right. Hi, good afternoon. I'm Marian Riedy. I teach business law in the School of Business. I'm an attorney and kind of a newbie at teaching. So by no means pretend to be an expert, but I am down the hall and always really interested in talking about this stuff. So I'm just going to describe one of the assignments that I started using, I think, pretty early on, and it's been very popular. Students always comment on it, so they enjoy the presentation, they enjoy doing them, and they enjoy hearing the other people's stories, and I really enjoy it as well. And that's my topic in the news. So I asked the students to find a story in the news that implicates or has to do with a legal issue in the chapter we're covering that week. So because this is a comprehensive course, we're talking about news stories ranging from constitutional law issues to secured transactions. Bless the hearts of the students who could find a story about that, right? Uniform Commercial Code all the way through environmental law, etc. So some of these stories are easier to identify, some not so easy. But in any event, the specifics of the assignment are identify a story, prepare a little PowerPoint or presentation about it, telling us the news, and then a couple slides on background information of the particular legal topic that story presents or is discussing or whatever. So the reason I do this is basically threefold. What is the students enjoy it? And I do too, because you get all these interesting stories. But the pedagogical reasons are, one, I want the students to understand that the law is everywhere, right? I mean, any publication, website, except, with a few exceptions, that has news in it, one or more of those stories is going to be about the law in some regard, so they understand the universality of this subject matter that we're talking about. And number two, I hope that they understand as they're reading these stories and explaining them to us and telling us about the legal issues, that they can actually do this. That is, after they get through this class in this university, they ought to be able to read the news as much more educated people. In terms of scoring these topic in the news assignments, usually they're 20 to 25 points, depending upon how long I put in the syllabus I expect them to be. This semester, for example, the instructions are that they're supposed to identify a story, provide some legal background, and or discuss the significance of the case to the world at large or to legal change or social public policy or whatever, approximately 10 minutes, and the maximum score is 25 points. So I just have a basic rubric. If they show up and they've identified a story, it's an A, B, or a C. A is, they get an A score if the topic is appropriate, that is, it's from the right chapter. The story is clearly presented. They use decent graphics, right? The slides are fairly clear or whatever. Include the key points of the story without going into unnecessary detail. And again, provide some background information. Usually they can just get it from the textbook. If we're talking about the patent dispute between Apple and Samsung, one slide about what a patent is and what it means to infringe, that kind of thing. But as long as they have check that off. And given those 3 points on topic, the story is clearly presented, 4 points, and some background information and meets approximately 10 minutes, that's an A. I think they work well. This assignment works well, but I do wonder, it's static. I'm not engaging the students. I'm not using any learning technologies, and they're using some research skills to find a story, particularly if it's a difficult topic. But other than that, again, fairly old-fashioned techniques. So I do wonder if I should require them to also identify, or instead of a print story, to identify and bring to class a clip. Somebody interviewed on CNN or whatever, find a video clip of somebody talking about a story involving a legal issue, which they almost all do, and then to make sure they do something on their own, because then obviously they wouldn't be presenting themselves. They'd be showing us somebody else presenting. But then I would require them to at least include one slide or whatever with, again, some background information or additional information about the legal topic. I don't think that's any better, because I'd rather have them get up there and present on their own rather than show me some talking head. But I guess to the extent that those are the kinds of resources, that is, videos, that people are going to be using to get their news going forward, perhaps in order to make their research skills more au courant, I should have them do videos instead of do their own description of the story. I don't know. Would appreciate some advice on that. Thoughts, pros and cons. And I will share one with you. If you're already tired with this, you can stop it. It's just one of the funniest things I ever heard. Going back to what I said about finding a story about secured transactions. Nobody knows what that is. That's like, collateral, the repo man taking your car off the street if you don't repay. So it's not real easy to find a news story about this. So this young woman, an international student, found the story about this guy who bought 25 very expensive Cuban cigars and he insured them. And then he filed a claim for the loss of the cigars by fire because he'd smoked them, right? So, of course, this was thousands of dollars. The insurance company objected. But when it got to court, when you looked at the policy, so this also demonstrated contract interpretation, it just provided that these cigars were insured against destruction by fire. It didn't exclude smoking them. Trust me, the insurance company went back and amended their policy right away. But in any event, so they had to pay the guy off. But because the guy had purchased the cigars on credit, the seller had a security interest in those cigars so that the guy, when he destroyed them, he destroyed somebody else's conditional property interest. So the insurance company got him indicted for arson. So he went to jail. So I told my students, it's probably politically incorrect, but I told my students the moral lesson of the story is the insurance company always wins. And they just laughed, of course.